A man in Ohio buried $4 million in his backyard, not metaphorically. Coffee cans wrapped in plastic, 6 feet under his tomato garden. He didn't trust banks, he didn't trust markets. And when he died, his family found the cans. Every single dollar still there, untouched, unspent, ungrown for 30 years. Here's the part that should genuinely bother you. That man died wealthy on paper, $4 million richer than almost anyone he ever met. But he was poorer in every way that actually matters than a woman 2 streets over who had $11,000 in a checking account and never once worried about money for the rest of her life. So what exactly did she know that he never figured out in 3 decades? And here's the second question I want stuck in your head for the next few minutes. Why does the richest family in almost every small town lose it all by the third generation, while the family everyone quietly called just getting by is still fine 40 years later? Still paying their bills? Still sleeping at night? Still standing when the recession hits? I'll answer both of those. But first, you need to understand something that took me years to accept. Getting rich and staying rich are not the same skill. Almost nobody teaches the second one because it doesn't make for exciting content. There's no thumbnail for boring consistency. But by the end of this, you're going to see money completely differently. Not as something you chase, but as something you either leak or you don't. Let's start with the leak nobody talks about. The one that has nothing to do with how much you earn and everything to do with what happens the moment money actually touches your hands. There's a concept from the researcher, essayist, and former options trader Nassim Taleb that quietly changed how I think about money and about almost every risk I've taken since. The idea of avoiding ruin, not maximizing gains, avoiding the one mistake that wipes you out completely. Because here's the math almost nobody does in their head. If you make 10 smart decisions and one catastrophic one, you don't end up at zero. You end up in the negative because the catastrophic one erases every gain that came before it. People who never lose their wealth are not the best at making money. They are the best at not destroying it. That's the whole game, and almost everyone is playing a different one without realizing it. Think about the last time someone you know made a huge amount of money fast, and then lost it just as fast. It's never the market's fault, not really. It's always one oversized bet made by someone who forgot they could lose. Put 20% of your net worth into one guaranteed opportunity, and you're not investing anymore. You're gambling with a nicer vocabulary. The people who stay wealthy have a rule, spoken or unspoken. No single decision is ever allowed to end the game. Not the business, not the investment, not the sure thing a friend swears by over dinner. One bad night at a poker table doesn't matter if you never bet the house. That's habit 1 and 2. Protecting the downside before chasing the upside and treating every can't lose opportunity as the exact moment to slow down. Ask harder questions and sleep on it for a week before wiring a single dollar. Now here's a contrast that'll sting a little. Picture two coworkers, same salary, same age, same starting point. Derek, 31, a software engineer making $95,000 a year, gets a 12% raise and immediately upgrades. New car payment, nicer apartment, a lifestyle that quietly expands to swallow every extra dollar. The guy in the next cubicle gets the exact same raise and nothing about his life visibly changes. Same car, same one bedroom. Friends start joking that he's still living like a broke college kid. 10 years later, one of them owns his time completely. He could walk away from his job tomorrow and be fine. The other one still needs the next paycheck to arrive on schedule, no matter how much he's making by then. This is the habit that's almost impossible to explain to someone still climbing. Wealth isn't what you earn, it's the gap between what you earn and what you spend. And that gap only grows when your lifestyle refuses to inflate every time your income does. People who never lose their wealth treat a raise like a rumor. They wait. They watch. They let the money sit for a few months before they let it change anything about how they live. Let me be honest about something, because pretending I've always gotten this right would be a lie. I once had a decent month. Nothing life-changing, just decent. and I spent it like it was the new normal. Dinners out, a new phone I didn't need, a subscription I forgot I even had. And the next month, when the decent month didn't repeat, I felt broke at the exact same income I'd felt fine at 3 months earlier. That's not a money problem, that's a memory problem. Your spending remembers your best month. Your saving needs to remember your worst one. The households that never lose their wealth build their entire baseline around their worst month, not their best one. So a bad year is uncomfortable instead of catastrophic. Here's a fact that tends to stop people mid-scroll. Research on self-made millionaires consistently finds that most of them never earned an especially high salary at all. A huge share of American millionaires never cracked six figures in any single working year. What separated them wasn't income. It was what happened to the income the moment it arrived. Automatically, boringly, before the money ever had a chance to become a decision. That's the fourth habit, and it's almost anticlimactic to say out loud. They paid themselves first, before rent, before groceries, before anything with a due date. A fixed percentage moved out of sight the same day the paycheck landed, every 2 weeks, for decades, without a single dramatic moment attached to any of it. Not because they were disciplined every single day. Nobody is, and anyone telling you they never wanted to blow their savings on something stupid is lying to you. They stayed consistent because they removed the daily decision entirely. Willpower runs out by Tuesday. A system doesn't. That single difference, repeated for 20 or 30 years, is closer to real financial freedom than any high-income job could ever get you on its own. Now, an analogy that might reframe this whole video for you. Think of your financial life like a body's immune system. A healthy person doesn't spend their day fighting off every germ one at a time. Their body has built-in defenses that work before they even notice a threat existed. People who never lose their wealth have built a financial immune system exactly the same way. Insurance they never think about until the one year they desperately need it and are quietly relieved they paid for every year they didn't. An emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses that just exists, untouched, sitting there like a scar that never has to become an open wound. A habit of reading one contract twice before signing it, slowly, line by line, because they've watched someone else lose a decade of savings to a clause they skimmed past the first time. None of this feels exciting. None of it is meant to. Immune systems are boring right up until the exact day they save your life, and by then, it's far too late to build one from scratch. Let's go back to that small-town family, the one that had everything and lost it by generation 3, a pattern so common that researchers on generational wealth actually have a name for it. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Here's the pivot, and it's the part almost nobody sees coming. It's not that they got unlucky, or that the market turned, or that the grandson wasn't as sharp as the man who built the fortune. It's that wealth without a philosophy attached to it doesn't transfer. Only the money transfers. And money without the habits that built it behaves exactly like water poured into open hands. It runs straight through the fingers of whoever's holding it, no matter how much of it there was to begin with. The family 2 streets over, the ones who were just getting by, their kids inherited almost nothing in dollars and almost everything in behavior. How to negotiate, how to wait, how to say no to a lifestyle they could technically afford but couldn't actually sustain long term. That's the real inheritance, not the number in the account. The entire nervous system built around the number. And this is where it gets a little uncomfortable, so stay with me. If you've ever felt like you were bad with money because your bank account doesn't match your effort, I want you to consider a different explanation. You were probably never bad with money. You were never handed the operating system for it. Nobody sat you down and explained that a paycheck isn't income, it's a decision point. Nobody explained that the version of you at 28, eating out 4 nights a week, and the version of you at 55, still working because you have to, are the same person making the same unexamined choice, just at 2 different points on the same timeline. That's not a character flaw. That's a gap in what you were taught. And gaps can close. Drop a comment right now with the habit on this list that hit closest to home. I read every single one, and some of the best insight blocks in future videos come straight from what you tell me here. If this reframed even one thing about how you see money, you know what to do next. Subscribe because there's a version of you in 5 years who's going to be very grateful you did. Here's the last thing, and I want you to actually sit with it instead of scrolling past it. The people who never lose their wealth are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you, and in a lot of cases, they are not even earning more than you right now, today at this exact income. What they have is a set of quiet, unglamorous defaults that run in the background of their lives, whether they're paying attention or not. Protecting the downside, letting income outrun lifestyle, remembering the worst month instead of the best one. Automating before deciding, and building an immune system for the emergencies they can't predict but know are coming. None of it is thrilling. All of it is available to you starting tonight with the very next dollar that touches your hand. The man with the coffee cans in his backyard wasn't protecting his wealth. He was hiding from it, terrified of a system he never took the time to understand. And it cost him 30 years of growth he never got back and never will. Don't let fear of the game keep you out of it. And don't let excitement about the game make you reckless inside it. The people who keep their wealth for a lifetime and pass on more than a number when they go aren't the loudest ones in the room. They're not the ones posting the car, the watch, or the vacation. They're usually the ones you'd never guess just by looking at them. Still there, still standing, still calm when everything around them is falling apart long after everyone else who started faster and louder has quietly disappeared.